Testing 1, 2, 3. Okay, that all seems to be working in order. Good. It is I, Menace Snowdecker. Welcome back to another YouTube video. I am not currently posting on YouTube. I'm actually taking a break because I'm trying to fix up my channel. But there's one thing that I needed to record more than anything else. And I've actually been meaning to post this for actually quite a few years. But every time I got around to recording it, every time I got around to posting it, I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to move on. I wasn't ready to let this go just yet. But now I think I finally am. I'm gonna be honest, I would rather be doing anything else than recording this right now. Honestly, a video game sounds pretty good at this point. Shoot, I'd even do some math homework at this point. You all don't understand, but if you're patient and you bear with me, maybe you will. This is not going to be a friendly video. This is not going to be one of those videos that I'd recommend to people. So, for your health, your sanity, and your safety, I'm actually being very serious right now. If you do not like handling topics about depression, suicide, disturbing imagery, death, I strongly recommend you do not continue watching this video. And if you are not above the legal age of 18 years old, then I highly recommend you stop watching this video right now. Because this video is labeled not for kids. Lego, I saw you pawing back there. Where'd you go? Yeah, mister. What you up to? Ah, come here. Looking for something to grab? Here. Oh, come on. You always like chasing that. Not in the mood at the moment? Oh, I see. You just want to rub up against some stuff, don't you? Alright, there you go. Sorry. Cats will do as cats want. Right now, he wants my lap. There you go. Nice gentle head rubs. How about that? That better? Alright. I actually recorded this video several times in the past, but every time I got around to posting it, I would delete it. Because like I said, I wasn't ready to share. I wasn't ready to move on. It's a heavy conversation that I don't like having. And it actually goes all the way back to my childhood, because that's when all this debacle really actually started. For those who do not know, I'm actually autistic. I was born with Asperger's syndrome. Now, for those who don't know what that is, it's a form of autism that makes communication difficult. I was never really the best at understanding social cues growing up. Today I'm a lot better, but I don't know, there's still some moments when people say something or do something and I just question why. Why are you doing this? I guess a great example would be social trends like 6-7. Never understood that. Always thought it was weird. I don't know, I guess I'm just the odd one out. Despite that, I still tried to make friends. However, it was a bit difficult because my father was a former military veteran and he was working for a company that constantly had him move around a lot. So, for those who don't know, I was actually born in the state of Texas. Nice blazing heat, fire ants. Gosh, you gotta love those fire ants. They're so mean and aggressive. You poke the bear, you get the claws, but if you poke an ant mound, you get the whole horde. Nasty, nasty little things. And don't get me started on the mosquitoes in the area. It was just extensive. I was around an area called the Woodlands. It had a nice bit of trees, nice bit of land and acreage. Town was okay. Or that's where at least I grew up. I got my first memories around the age of, I'd have to say, 8. Little did I know that I'd actually moved to England prior and lived in Texas before that. Sometime around age of 2? I don't know, it gets kind of confusing for me. I got bits and pieces of memories in there. Like, for example, I remember going on a ferry in England. They had this passage where it was like a floating boat that you could haul cars on. I'm not doing a good job describing this. Forgive me, I was so young I couldn't even speak at the time. The fact that I remember anything from about that is astounding to me at all. But after I turned 8, my family moved to Kentucky, and I stayed there for 2 years till I was 10. And we were in a town called Edgewood. And then after that, we moved to Illinois, and that's when this story actually starts picking up and taking place. When it all really begins. When you're young and you're moving around a lot, you sneezing? Bless you. You okay? I'll take that as a yes. Yeah, that's a yes. You're fine. It gets difficult to make friends when you move around because one moment you finally make a friend, and then the next moment, well, those friends are gone, and you lose touch with them. So making friends was next to impossible for me. And I wasn't exactly the type of person that people actually liked growing up, and I never fully understood why. I never really did. When I moved to Illinois, we lived in a small town called Pecatonica. It's about 30 minutes from an area called Rockford, Illinois. Rockford is, well, it's not the type of place that I would honestly say that I would want to hang my hat at the end of the day. Lego, those are my base stadiums, man. Come on. Can't you leave those alone for 5 minutes? Every time you're up here, you rub your head against them. Stop! That's an antique, very, very out of date, and the plastic is brittle in some places. Lego! You rubbed your head against it so much it's starting to crack, dude. I can't replace that, man. You goof. Well, what's another trinket compared to a living life? That's it. You've lost your stadium privileges. Stop it. If I could show a bottom feed right now, I would. He has his tail wrapped around my cords and he's just eyeballing me. Yeah, I'm watching you too, mister. I swear, every time he's down there, he rubs his head against my stadiums. Every single time. I had to move half of them. Now I gotta move the other half. Yeah, that's fine. Rub your head against that one. That one's a lot more recent. That one's not gonna break anytime soon. He's a goofball. My cat is a goofball. He's a good goofball, though. Just a bit of a troublemaker. Anyways, where was I? Right, Rockford. Again, not the type of place I'd want to hang my hat at the end of the day. Believe it or not, once upon a time, my dad drove with me to help him pick up some laundry at a dry cleaner's. We just passed a building. There were 2 cars in there, a small group of guys. 30 minutes later, we're driving back, and that exact same spot we drove by is completely filled with cop cars. Something gang-related happened, and we didn't know what, and quite frankly, it was none of our business. But that paints a lovely picture for how it was. And I wouldn't say every part of Rockford is like that. There's quite a few nice places. But at the end of the day, once the lights go out, street lights come on, it's not exactly a place that I want to be caught dead in at night. And Chicago is equally worse. The taxes on some of the land is just ridiculous, and don't get me started on the corruption. Chicago is horrible. And Illinois is honestly a give and take of the way it was. My father was always telling me when he was going on business trips or stuff related to it that he would always find more people who left Illinois than people who moved to Illinois. So that pretty much gives a good description of how things were actually going deep down inside. And Pecatonica was sadly no different. You see, I was about the age of 13, 12, 13, somewhere around there. I started in their 4th grade. Everything seemed alright. I was hoping I could make friends. I was sadly mistaken. You see, that's all I ever wanted growing up, was to make friends. To have a friend, somebody I could play with, talk to, share my intimate life moments with. Maybe a recent Lego purchase or some new toy I got, a video game we could play together. I can't say 100% that I had that all the way growing up. And if I'm being honest, the school system just made things worse. It was painful for me because I didn't learn like everybody else. I was better off with my hands. I'm more of a hands-on learner. When I sit there and try to teach book-wise, I tend to lose interest. It's awful for me. I can't learn that way. And every time I tried, I apparently learned in ways that they couldn't comprehend or let alone understand, which just made things even worse. Looking back, I guess I really was the odd one out. Anyways, I started getting fascinated with some things. You know what? Here, let me show you. Certain things like the medieval times and the Civil War, World War I, World War II. A lot of fascinating things were made back then. Let's see, what do I need here? Okay, move that up there. Let's go ahead and just bring this in. Yeah, sure. That works. I'm using a cosplay image tab here on my server. It's the only tab I have suitable for what it is I'm about to share. You see, around middle school, I started experimenting with certain things that most kids would not dare try to touch at my age. While they were learning to play football or how to speak Espanol. Hola, ¿cómo está? I was busy doing something else. And just give me a moment to try to find this. Alright, I have almost 800 photos that I have to scroll through just to find the ones that I want. Literally almost all this is just Beyblade or Minecraft or something else like that. So please, just bear with me and give me a moment. I can only scroll so fast. Yeah, I know, I gotta go through my device and delete a bunch of these, but a lot of these I'm still using, hilariously. So, not gonna be gone anytime soon. Okay, well this one I don't need anymore. A Beyblade image of, one of the recent releases for Beyblade X, which was General Grievous and Obi-Wan Kenobi. There we go. There's what I'm looking for. Hello. That's precisely what I want. Okay, bingo. Give me just a moment. Got it. This is not the original imagery because I actually took measures to delete every single one of them. And I'll explain why here shortly. There we go. This is one of the last images. I can't blow that up any more than I'm currently looking at. Unless I try a different method. Let's try this. Since I can't seem to blow that up any more than I already have. Okay, now it's a little bit seeable. I was experimenting with trying to make a real-life medieval suit of armor. And I was doing this at the ripe age of a teenager. Based on parts here collected, pieces. I'd have to say this was around the time I was maybe, I don't know, 17 or 18. I was well into working on it. But it was tedious, it was annoying. I kid you not, every time I wanted to do this, I couldn't get it to work right. This is not the original, but you get the idea. Modified gauntlet to withstand hatchets and axes. Modified knee pad with spikes on it. Yes, they actually were real metal. I don't know. I thought it would be hilarious if I was laying down minding my own business and somebody jumped off a ledge and landed on it. It would have been painful, sure, but it would have been funny, the sheer timing of it, in a horribly grotesque manner. There was a homemade, modified skewer that I designed after studying certain types of spears and pikes to hunt boar. A baseball bat that also had screws in it. Baseball bat holder. Rapier. I had homemade nunchucks with it. And a Chinese saber sword. And this is just the stuff you can see here in this image. This is not the entire kit caboodle that came with it. That part should look really familiar if you've actually seen stuff on my channel. The rest of this is either outdated, still in use, or gone. So these gloves are gone. These shoes are actually gone. This gauntlet, thrown away. This baseball bat, I actually had enough of it and I put it inside of a bonfire. Gave it a final resting place by form of fire. I also find it funny how you can see my cat just laying there, eyeing it. This shield is also gone. It was an early model, didn't really hold out the way I wanted. And it was unnecessarily bulky and heavy. You know, it's funny, every time you go to search up medieval stuff, like medieval knight imagery, armor design, I kid you not, one of the first things I got was cosplay. I've had enough of cosplay. I'm sick of the cosplay. No offense. I like a good cosplay as much as the next guy. Or next gal. But it gets to the point where I'm trying to do research on this type of stuff, and all I get is cosplay. It's frustrating. I spent maybe, I don't know, 4 months, 5 months just trying to find usable imagery that I could utilize to make armor, and what I came back with was nothing. Just a measurement sheet dating back to the medieval times, and that didn't exactly help me because that I already understood. So that was a massive waste of my time. But apparently this is what started the entire debacle when I was in Pecatonica. You see, I got bullied a lot. I don't know why I got bullied a lot, but I was, unfortunately. For some reason, I was always the prime target of bullying. And let me tell you, from somebody that's been bullied and seen it firsthand, it's not something that just goes away by a teacher stepping in saying enough. You need to have strict rules and regulations, and unfortunately, a lot of the school systems do not have that. They are a literal joke. I cannot word that any other way that I already have, because that's exactly what it is. If you throw a punch to defend yourself in any way, shape, or form, they will suspend you first because they view that as you instigating the fight. You did not instigate the fight. You retaliated. But they don't see it that way. They don't care about that. All they care about is who threw the first punch and why. That's it. If you can't give them a good explanation why, you're suspended. Nobody can give a good explanation why. All they know is somebody said something they shouldn't have and they deserve to get punched. Well, that's what happened with me. Students would go around on the school campus not even 18 years old. In fact, they were doing this back in middle school, so they were definitely under the age of 18. Some of them were under the age of 15, 14. They were making these kinds of jokes. Truly disgusting behavior. They were making sexual jokes about my father, my mother, my older sibling. And when I told the school board that, they wouldn't do anything. They would not do squat. And eventually they'd make them about me. I got sick of it. I go to the teacher, ask them to please get them to stop. They do nothing. My father's advice, just ignore them. If only it was that simple, Dad. I tried. Back then, God knows I tried. But they wouldn't stop. They were horrible. Now, what's this got to do with the suit of armor? Absolutely nothing. I didn't make it to fight them. I made it because I was fascinated by the medieval times and wanted a suit of my own. That's the truth. I never built it for revenge. I never built it to seek out justice like some vigilante like Batman or something. No. I'm not Deadpool. I'm not Slade. Deathstroke. I'm certainly no Bruce Lee or Chuck Norris. I built this suit because, long story short, I was fascinated by it. I mean, when you actually sit down and read about the medieval times, it is a fascinating era. It really is. I mean, they had some of the worst medical practices, some of the most heinous punishments. Don't get me started on the torture devices. Their technology was leagues behind what we have today. And yet, despite that, at the same time, their technology for the era was literally the peak of technological design. I mean, they had suits of armor that could withstand almost any blade, deal with almost any projectile. And if you actually research enough, you'll find that they actually did have some early gun designs in that era. Were they anything like today's? Oh no, far from it. Absolutely horrible designs they had back then. But they still had it, and they even had some suits that were so thick and durable they could actually withstand bullets in that era. It's crazy. It's amazing. It's fascinating. They built giant machines out of wood and nail and screw that could heave boulders across difficult terrain. They built siege weapons unlike anything people could have imagined back then. And have you studied their furniture? Absolutely amazing, incredible work. And even the castles, the drawbridge, the catapult, the trebuchet, the ballista. Their design work was just phenomenal, and that's what makes it so fascinating to this very day. It's what inspires people when they look at it. They look at that and say, that is amazing technology right there. I would love to have one of my own. Here I was trying to make one out of scraps and garbage. Was it working? Yeah, in a sense. But I didn't have the knowledge. I didn't have the material. I went with what I had. What I had was garbage. That was all I had to work with. Scraps, spare parts, anything I could buy or salvage, I'd get my hands on it. But that's not what the original suit looked like. That was modified from the original suit. This was around the time that I was trying to make an effort to remake said suit. The original, I don't have an image of. All I have, well, all I have is this. Allow me to share it with you. This right here. This is all I got. Notice how each of these panels has a suit of armor or a character inside it that's wearing a design that's similar to armor but unique in its own way, or maybe designed to represent a certain type of class. Here, allow me to get you a better image. This right here. Send. This was the original suit. Baseball bat slouched around the shoulder. Homemade cape made out of a bed sheet, completely torn to shreds from difficult terrain. The spiked gauntlet, as you saw in that image. A modified gauntlet capable of stopping a hatchet close range. Knee pads. Thick gloves, padded shoulders. And a very, very unique helmet. That, right there, was my original suit of armor. This image is actually incredibly symbolic. By the time that I'm done telling this whole story, you're gonna know why. This has nothing to do with the bullying, and yet at the same time, it has everything to do with all of it. Pecatonica, my origin, my name, everything. The bullying didn't stop over the years, it just got worse. I spent my entire childhood completely friendless. I wasn't invited to parties. People would have get-togethers at other people's houses. I would never be invited. When somebody's birthday was celebrated, it was anyone's but mine. The other students, they didn't care for me, and if they did, then they had a very horrible way of showing it. Forgive me, Lord God, for I'm about to swear. But these students, these Pecatonicans, they didn't give a fucking damn if I lived or died. They didn't care at all. I was just an autistic kid put in regular classes, not in a separate class. House of all the other students. They didn't have a care in the world if I lived or died. I could have fell over, died the next morning. They wouldn't have batted an eye. They wouldn't have even looked my way. They wouldn't have said, "Oh, that's a shame. He had so much potential." No, they would just kept walking. That's the type of people they were. Pecatonica is the type of town that revolves around gossip. They spread stories about you behind your back. Whether it's true or not, they don't care. They just say whatever they want. That's just on their mind. They don't care about you. They say what they think and they'll say it right there in front of you. They don't have a care in the world. At least that's been my experience. My name back then wasn't Menace Snowdecker. My name is Aaron Decker, or at least it used to be. I haven't gone by that name in a long time. You have any idea how difficult it is growing up with a whole bunch of bullies that just want to harm you in some way they can? They'll find any excuse to bully you, to make fun of you. An item you have, clothing, your name. Yeah, I deeply did not enjoy being called Aaron for an entire month. I asked the teachers to get the students to stop. I asked the students to stop. They would not stop. They did not care. They thought it was so funny. Picking on another student. And it made it worse when I was autistic. But I never hid behind it as a disability. I never cowered when they confronted me. I'd always fight back. They didn't like that. So they started fighting me. They would get in small gangs of 2 to 3, sometimes 5. If I was really, really mad, they'd get in groups of 10. Always alone, always by myself, always taking a beating. Speaking of which, I don't know if you all heard that, but that's a courtesy reminder of what Pecatonica put me through. My arm's damaged. Every time I go to a doctor, they tell me it's fine. But if I reach it past 90 degrees, or apply too much pressure and force, my arm pops. Originally, the pain was so severe that every time I tried to pop it back into place, my eyes would actually start dilating. I could feel them opening and closing without even looking in a mirror, because the pain was just that severe. Now I'm sadly used to it. I'm used to this damaged arm. It's become a part of me. I don't like that I got used to that. That's how bad those bullies beat me. Even now, years later, my body's still paying the price. The only way to allow me to go past 90 degrees is to use my arm in certain ways that holds the joints in a more stiff motion. It's not exactly comfortable, but it works. I can cope with it. And also, being under 6 foot back then didn't exactly help either. Didn't help at all. I never once used my suit on anyone. I could have. I did not. Now, what does the suit have to do with bullying? I've asked that 3 times now. The answer is nothing. And at the same time, everything. Most people, when they make something like this, they're out for revenge. They're out for blood. They're out to cause some type of pain, some type of harm. I was... I was not. No. No, not even close. You see, I built it because I wanted to, not because I needed to. That's the difference here. They built those suits of theirs because they needed to feel strong. They needed to feel powerful. I did not need that. In my own way and sense, I was content. I was happy with what I already had. Eventually, they had some type of contest on the school grounds one day. I asked if I could wear my suit. School said yes. So I followed regulations. I took away every single item on it that I had back then that could be deemed a weapon. And I wore it around school grounds. I had full permission from the staff, full permission from the adults. I didn't violate any rules. I didn't attack anybody, didn't harm anybody. I just walked around, minded my own business. And that's sadly where this all really, really takes shape. You see, that event was in high school. Back when I was in middle school, I already had a nasty reputation for fighting bullies. Not backing down. Getting in the fights with people, they tried to label me as a delinquent. It's all just so messed up. There was this stupid kid in my grade. To this day, he's still an idiot. No offense, but he is. I'm not going to mention his name. But this kid was the one that started all of it. On a bus ride back to the middle school grounds, it was maybe a 15-minute bus ride. Wasn't even that long. He sat behind me in the chairs and kept reaching over and hitting me in the back of the head. I couldn't figure out who it was because I was just trying to rest and sleep on the bus ride back. I kept asking everybody around me, who was that? Can you guys stop? Can you guys stop hitting me? I go back to sleep and he'd reach over and hit me again. It was maybe around the 4th time I got hit that I finally started lashing out on people around me. Every time I got hit, I'd start thrashing and start punching people. I asked them to stop. I asked them to stop repeatedly. They didn't care. Especially not the person who was doing it. And every person that sat around me was in fact a person who had bullied me at one point in time. Photographic memory does not exactly help you in scenarios like that. Because every person is on your watch list. As in, watch out for when they do something stupid again. And I couldn't figure out who it was who was hitting me. So I would just attack everybody I thought was responsible. Hilariously, every person I punched was in fact not responsible in that moment. The one person who was the least likeliest person I could have imagined. I will say this much, it was a male student. He was in my grade. But I'm not going to share his name, because if he ever sees this video, I hope he remembers. Not that he's going to care. Anyways, me and him were called into the office, and the principal there at the time, a horrible principal, who shockingly, behind the scenes, was trying to encourage students to beat me up and bully me, but I didn't know that till years later. Yeah, shocking, but it's true. I had a family who testified and admitted the truth to me. I still can't believe that to this day. How does a guy like that get to hold that kind of position of power in a school ground of all things? He even had a son, too. Not cool. Anyways, he started piping up and saying, look, this was meant to be like a 15-minute bus ride. You guys should not be having a fight on a bus ride. This shouldn't have happened. After he was done with his speech, I just couldn't believe it was him, of all people. So I stood up and I questioned him on the spot. Hilariously, the principal allowed me, didn't stop me, didn't interrupt me. Even had a smile on his face as I was speaking. And the kid inside that chair was terrified out of his mind. Not because of what I said, or what I did. He was terrified of how I said it. I looked right at him, tears in my eyes, just sick and tired of being bullied. And I said, I'm never going to forget this. Of all the people, why you? I asked him if my neighbor sent him and set him up to it, thinking that maybe he had a hand to play in it because my neighbor bullied me quite a bit. That neighbor of mine was on the football team for Pecatonica. No offense, but their football team was a joke. I watched them stumble and fumble and bumble for years. Hilariously, they kept trying to get me to join their football team, and I told them this every single time. The day you guys win one season, that's the day I'll join. Until then, bye. Hilariously, in the whole time that I was there, they never won a single season. And if they did, they never came to brag about it. I wasn't going to waste my time on a bunch of kids that couldn't take things seriously and were just there for kicks and laughs. I had bigger things in my mind, and all they cared about was football and Spanish. But after that meeting inside that principal's office, that kid became scared of me. We were the exact same age. He was more fit than I was. Not to mention at the time, just a little bit taller. And yet he saw something in me that he saw in nobody else. He saw pain. He saw frustration. And he saw a relentless desire. A desire to not put up with any more. He became terrified. Petrified, even. Behind my back, he started spreading some rumors, and one of them was about that suit. I didn't care at the time. I guess I should have. Because after I paraded around the high school campus, almost 2 years later, the rumors picked up, and they didn't stop. What did people know about me? They knew that I liked Legos. They knew that I was a fan of Star Wars. They knew back then that I had a suit of armor. How durable it was, they did not know. They also knew that there were some bones on the armor as well. Almost all the bones on it were fake. There were a couple that were real bones, but they were from a very small rodent. Why did I put rodent bones on the armor? My answer stays the same one to this very day. Bones are nature's form of steel. Do you have any idea how difficult it is to break your own skeleton? Your bones are very durable and tough. If you can find some bones in your yard that are maybe about that thick, they can be good for something. Now, I'm not saying go clean a corpse or anything. That's horrible advice. But there was one day I was out in my dad's yard walking around, going through trees, looking at the leaves, feeling the breeze in the air and the gentle touch of the wind. It was nice. I'm outside walking, minding my own business, and there's a decayed animal right there in the yard. There's no flesh left on it. There's nothing, really. Just bones. There was a rib cage and half a skull. That was it. My parents would have told me, no, don't touch that, don't use it. Being the stupid child teenager that I was, I did not care. I took them inside, cleaned them, washed them, completely lathered them in soap, and then I eventually hot glued them on the suit of armor. Where? You know, that is a good question. Let me show you. It's actually right there on the drawing. Right here. I guess I'm not zooming in enough to get people to pay enough attention. Do. See that right there? Get that a little bit larger. This section right here, right beside this PVC sword, underneath the knee pad on this leg gauntlet, these were meant to be those bones that I was drawing. Notice how they all look like ribs? Very small, very thin ribs. That's because that's exactly what they were. They were tiny little ribs of a small rodent that I found dead in my dad's yard. Now, I admit it was stupid of me to do that. I'm not going to do that ever again. But back then, I was just a teenager. I was a stupid kid doing stupid stuff for stupid reasons. Like, I don't know, making a spare suit of armor in my spare time. Just for the fun of it. For, quote, shits and giggles. Because I was fascinated by the medieval times. Well, surprise, surprise, somebody eventually spread that rumor around. Oh, he's got bones on his suit of armor. And this is where everything takes the full dark turn, unfortunately. There was this mother and her daughter. They started spreading rumors about me like wildfire. They were saying all these ridiculous things. Saying things like, oh, he likes Nerf guns. Because he owns Nerf guns, he must own real guns. He's going to go to the nearest town and start shooting the place up. And that's not the original rumor, but that's the summarized version of it. They were saying that I was going to go into the nearby town called Westlake Village, and they said I was going to just go on a shooting spree. And the way they worded it was just ridiculous. It was stupid. They made it sound like I was going to barge in with an AK-47 or some M16 or M14 or, I don't know, some other type of high-powered assault rifle that you're not going to find in a common household. And then they accused me of also having a high-powered caliber pistol. Both of which I did not own or possess in any way, shape, or form, and neither did anyone in my family. So the police, they also knew that it was a bunch of rumors and lies. That's all it was, just a bunch of nonsense. It was all just stupid. It was ridiculous nonsense spread by paranoid people who didn't know what they were talking about, who didn't know what they were doing, who didn't know any better. But they questioned her daughter as well. They, when I say they, I'm referring to the news team. Yes, that's how important this all got. Their news team, the CNN team that they had around there, and there's another one that I think it was 17 News, Rex, I don't know, something like that. I don't watch the news, I don't pay attention to that stuff. But the news station that was around Pecatonica, they were going around questioning people, trying to figure out anything they could about me at the time. Because that's how big this all became. And they eventually questioned that mother's daughter, and she goes, oh yeah, he draws pictures of people in art class. Pictures of people holding guns. Give me just a moment here. Let me show you this type of stuff that I drew when I was in high school. And let's just put this stupid debacle to bed. This ridiculous stereotype. of a conversation. Now then, let me pull up some of my artwork so you all can see what it was I drew back when I was in high school. So you saw that one. Let's find some of those images. Oh, here's one. This is from high school. Boop. I mean, there is some truth to what they were saying. I did draw pictures of people holding guns. But they would take it out of context. They make it sound so violent. What about this image is violent? Take a good look at them. What do you see? Are they attacking anybody? No. Are they pulling the trigger and shooting anybody? No. Is there blood? I mean, sure, there's reds in here. There's a sunset in the background, a nice barren cornfield that's been recently plowed over by farming equipment. There's a bit of red inside the name here for a signature. But is there blood? No. Is anybody dying in this image? No. So tell me, what about this picture is so violent? I was unaware that just standing there and posing made you a violent person. Perhaps I missed that stereotype. What if I go to some of the other imagery? What if I go to that? Is that violent? Does that look violent to you? No. It's just a dragon head giving a roar. That's not scary. That's not violent. Okay, well, what about this? Let's get some images out of here. Pictures of stuff that I drew way back when. Let's see. Let's get some pictures going. Nice little show and tell here we got. Here's one I drew in high school. Take a good look at that. Does that look violent to you? Am I harming anybody with this? It says Rebels Leader. 2 total. You want to know what that was for? That was for a laser tag thing I was designing. I was just being a kid and thinking, what if I actually made that when I grew older? And I was drawing some of this down, trying to make it more Star Wars based, and I thought it'd be kind of cool if we had like a Star Wars themed laser tag arena. I was mixing and matching some random stuff from Star Wars and just trying to see what I could come up with. Here's one. Empire Leader. Oh yes, I was unaware that holding a laser tag pistol and wearing a clone helmet was such a violent act. Such a grade A violent act. This man must be arrested for 20 years. Long live the Empire. No. So violent. So scary. Oh. Oh, wait. Here's a good one. Yeah, here's a great one. Empire Soldier, 40 total. I was putting down numbers for how many you'd have in each group. He's literally pointing and just thinking, crush the rebels. And there's the cable for the laser tag rifle. I was unaware that was meant to be violent. Please educate my uneducated self on this matter, since you're such an expert on how violent a child should be, dear woman, who's been spreading lies. Oh, here's a nice little keepsake. The map I drew. Oh yeah, because drawing a map, it's such a violent thing to do. A map of a random laser arena. I was unaware that drawing a map with Star Wars symbols and imagery for a laser tag arena was such a violent thing for somebody to do. Thank you for educating my dumb, idiotic, moronic self. Point is, I got a bunch of pictures just like that all throughout this book. It's all just random doodles that I had back then. Random sketches with pieces of homework paper that I didn't use and wasn't using at the time. Oh, here's a scary one. It's labeled The Glove. This was all I drew back then. Oh no! A skeletal hand! It's so violent! It's just a glove that's meant to look like a skeleton hand. My gosh. Yeah, point is, if they fear you, they will create any type of ridiculous line they can come up with. Possible. Imaginable. I mean, sure, I did draw quite a few guns here and there, and I mean, there are some things in here that, I mean, I guess do resemble weaponry, so I can understand the fear, kind of like this one. A catapult design work. I was trying to understand the design. I didn't do a good job with this one. This was just an early image I had. This is there. I know a lot more about this now. Like there should be a big weight here at the front to create the momentum to shoot it forward. I didn't know enough about this stuff back then. I was trying to learn in my own way. But I got an image of a drill in here. One's a shovel tool. I got one titled The Guard Wearing Spikes. There's a double guitar. Drawing of a tank. Not doing anything horrible, it's just a tank. The prototype image of a machine gun that I thought would have been beneficial if the military actually made it. It was all just random sketches, random doodles, random stuff that I made in my time. Here's a nice one I made. Here's a nice one. Again, I don't care. I could literally show all this, but I'd be sitting here taking pictures all day long. It's just a big fat binder filled with images I drew back then. Some of these are a bit more detailed. Some of these are just random doodles, whatnot. Again, just random sketches I had back then. Some of it I thought was pretty cool when I drew it out on paper. Apparently everybody else didn't think so. They were terrified of it. I'm sorry, am I harming you? Am I drawing you being harmed? Does it say on the paper that that's you being harmed? No, no, and no. I'm sorry, do I offend you with my bony composure? What do you want me to do? Shrink my weight down, become a limp noodle? Stupid. It's all just stupid. This was all the stuff I drew back then. This is literally all I ever drew. Medieval design stuff, imagery, a couple designs based on current military weaponry. But all of it was just that, just doodles, just sketches. Nobody was being harmed in any imagery. Literally nobody. And if it was a design that was eventually built around the concept of causing harm, then I wasn't drawing anything violent with it. I wasn't doing anything wrong. I wasn't harming anybody, but they couldn't understand that. Why? Because their brains were just small and incapable of understanding a bigger concept. So let me get this straight. If I draw something that has a weapon, I'm violent. By that logic, every person in Star Wars must be incredibly violent. By that logic, every single manga creator must be violent. Do you see how stupid this sounds? It's all just rumors. It's all lies. And the moment you start breaking it apart, you realize that firsthand. It was all just nonsense. It was all stupid. They were terrified of a teenager that didn't do anything but fight the bullies they sent to harm him. Or bully other kids. How did that make me a bad person? How did that make me violent? Look, if you don't want your kids getting in the fights of other kids, don't let them become bullies. It's that simple. But they couldn't understand that I was just defending myself or others at that time in my life. They were too naive. They were too stupid to understand. Just a bunch of children. All of them. Every last one of them. 2,224 people were living in Pecatonica at that time, and every single one of them failed. Why? Because they trusted that mother and they trusted that daughter, the two that spread the rumors and lies about me. This was the stuff I did in my spare time. This was the stuff that I drew. I wasn't harming anybody. I wasn't doing anything wrong. No, I wasn't gonna go shoot up a village. Stupid. All of it was stupid. It was just a bunch of lies and propaganda made by people who didn't know any better, were just seeking for attention. That's it. This is the type of stuff I drew in my spare time, and I got a bunch of images just like this. People holding spears or a shield, or some prototype design work of a shield, or some body in Star Wars armor, or some type of clone armor holding a rifle, or something like that. I wasn't harming anyone. And if it was something that I made real in the future, I made it real with a sense on safety. No, I never made any homemade guns. I would never do such a thing. I know better. That's a horrible thing to do. Guns lead to a lot of problems, my own personal opinion. That being said, though, I do believe people should have the right to bear arms and defend themselves. But all of this was just nonsense, all of it. The only things I ever made real was the armor designs I drew. And even then, I didn't even make all of them. I just made the ones I was most invested in. One of which was this one, which I eventually modified into something else. And that one became my, I guess you could say, my peak achievement. Alright, I don't have that on here. Right, I gotta get that off here. Just a moment. The peak achievement that I made. I would never have made it if it wasn't for Pecatonica. So in a way, I guess I have to thank them. It's thanks to Pecatonica and their superstitious rumor-mongering spreaders that this even exists. This, right here. That image at the top was when I was modifying the suit. I eventually modified it into this. This very image that I am sharing now. That right there. That's me. And if you look closely at the top, you'll notice something embedded inside the armor. Something of great value. I gotta blow this image up quite a bit to get it to even show. Right there. Does that look familiar? No? Okay, let's try this. Let's try this, since that does not look familiar. Let's try blowing that up here and then sending that through. Just a moment. If you're patient, I'll show you. Patience is a virtue, and it is rewarded with results. There we go. There we go. Just what I needed. Look right there. Pecatonica. It was embedded in my armor when I made it. Why? Because I put it there. I could not possibly begin to forget the pain I went through. The bullying, the hate, the lies. I fought against it for years. At the time, the school actually had some teachers in the gym that they were teaching in high school that would actually sexually harass students. I kept trying to get those teachers removed, and their response, we cannot do anything at this current time because those two teachers are part of a union. I'm sorry, when I'm doing squats in the gym with a giant weight bar behind me, weighing 45 pounds, with additional weights on the sides, ranging from 5 to 45 in weight, pounds system. Nice little design work to get yourself nice little workout. When I'm doing that, and I'm doing squats, and I don't have a spotter, I don't need a teacher sitting there on a chair recording me in gym class, telling me that he's recording me just to check out my form. That is a breach of violation, and that's a breach of people's privacy, and that is creepy and disrespectful. You don't need to record somebody to check out their form. You don't need to do that to be able to tell, hey, this guy doesn't have a spotter. And I don't know about you, but when I see a married man inside of a gym class checking out girls' butts while they squat, looking up their shorts, not to mention grabbing himself and putting his hands on their desks, I don't exactly feel comfortable looking at that all day long. Well, I'm sorry, but he's part of a union. At this current time, we cannot do anything. That is what I was told when I brought that to their attention on the Pecatonica High School grounds. And there were quite a few teachers that violated the rules quite a bit, and over the years they would do nothing. They don't care. They didn't care. They would never listen to the logical words of a child, let alone a teenager. Oh, he's just emotional. He's just going through stuff. Yeah, I'm going through stuff. I'm going through hell here inside your school grounds. Dealing with your backhanded responses and your stuff did not handle anything. Oh, we promote dare videos to get people to not bully. I was getting bullied. What did your video do about that? What did any of you do about that? You did nothing. It was just one painful experience after another for me. I still remember those videos. Speak up against bullying because bullying is not cool. Bullies would bully anyways. Teachers, up, he threw the first punch. He's suspended 3 days. Thanks, guys. Thank you. You gotta love school grounds. They don't value you. They don't care about you. They should, but they don't. And that is the unfortunate truth. It sucks. Really does suck. And as for the suit of armor, I just kept working on it. I kept modifying it. I kept changing it up more and more in my spare time. And as for them, they kept spreading more and more rumors, and they kept becoming more and more intense. It wasn't just he was planning to shoot a town anymore. They were saying rumors like he was planning to bomb the school with explosives, and they made it sound like it was C4. Where's a teenager gonna get C4? What is he just gonna walk into a military base and walk out with it? Okay, thanks guys, gonna go to school now. See you guys later. Peace. No! Idiots! Where's he gonna get that from? Stupid. And don't get me started on the following rumors that were created. They were saying things based on that early gauntlet I had. They were saying things like, "Oh, he kidnapped a bunch of children. Yeah, he cut off their fingers and put them on this gauntlet." I told them straight up, "I will turn everything I have over to the police right now. They can acquire a DNA sample out of this stuff from my suit. They could take every bone off and get a DNA sample from my suit and put this whole thing to bed." Their response? "We don't believe you." Whatever. After that day, I never bothered trying to defend myself ever again. Because it was clear to me that Pecatonicans do not want to listen, they do not care. And that sucked because I actually deeply valued that town. Because I was one of them. Or at least I wanted to be one of them. I wanted to be a member of their community. I wanted to be a Pecatonican. But I wasn't welcome. Why? Long story short answer, A, they didn't like me. And B, I was from out of town. That was it. That was their whole reason for not wanting me to be a part of their community. Which is hilarious because some of their favorite students were also from out of town. And some of them were also from Texas, but they liked them more than me. Why? I don't know. The people that they liked were absolute jerks. They were a-holes. No offense, but they were. Not going to mention their names. I'm just putting it out there. They were bullies, and they were not good people. Not good company. But they'd rather have one of them than somebody me with a sense of respect and decency. Apologies if I can't tolerate bullying. Apologies if I don't like rumors, I don't like lies. Apologies if I don't like people who take one look at somebody and judge them without getting to know them first. They never took the time to get to know me. Eventually, the bullying became so extreme. I'm gonna be honest, I actually did try to kill myself. That's precisely why I said that at the beginning of the video, 18 and plus, if you cannot handle this type of conversations, you best leave now. It was horrible. I picked a day that my father wouldn't be home. My mother was upstairs. I went down to the basement and I got the biggest kitchen knife that I could grab. My plan? Simple. I was going to take that knife and run it through my stomach. I was going to cut through my intestines, my stomach, possibly my liver. And I was going to force it right through my back. I picked a day that almost nobody was home, when nobody would be paying attention. I picked a day that if I went through with it, I would have gotten away with it. Hilariously, I couldn't do it. There I was, the point of the blade right at my stomach. I wasn't terrified of the knife, but I was scared. But I knew it wasn't the knife, and I couldn't figure out why. In that moment, I wanted to die. I wanted to die more than anything else in the world. I had been broken, I had been lied about, my honor was gone, my reputation was gone. Nobody trusted me, I had no friends. All I had was my parents and my older sibling. And for me, that didn't feel like enough at the time, even though it actually was, but I didn't realize that till later. But in that moment, I just... Why? Why? I want to die. I want to die more than anything in my life, right now. Why? I stood there and I cried. I wanted to just leave. I wanted to leave this world behind. The life I had been given. It was just too much to bear. But I couldn't do it. I couldn't plunge that knife into me. Out of everything I could have done in that moment, you want to know what I did? I weighed the pros and cons of life. My life. Con. I don't like the school. They have horrible food. They don't treat us like people. They treat us like test subjects. Pro. I got a family that loves me. Pro. I got a house and a roof over my head. Pro. I got Legos. Con. And I did this again and again. Until finally, I thought I covered everything. You want to know what I realized? I had more pros in my life than I had cons. And the one con that I couldn't handle was the bullying. And I realized in that moment, if I give up right now, if I give in to this temptation, they win. They wanted me gone. They wanted me dead. If I give in, that's it. They win. Out of stubbornness, I put that knife down. And to this day, I have never picked up a knife with the same intention. I swore to myself that I would never pick up a knife with the exact same intention I had in that moment. And to this day, I never have. I realized in that moment that suicide is not the answer, that suicide is not the way. And I also realized something deeper. If I ended my life right then and there, the pain wouldn't stop. It might stop for me, but not for them, not for my family. My dad would come home, find his own son dead on the floor. His wife in tears. My older sibling would grow up the rest of their life without a sibling. I'm so glad I didn't plunge that knife into me. To this day, even when I'm faced with thoughts of suicide, I use every ounce of willpower that I have to force it away from me, no matter how tempting it becomes, no matter how badly I want it to happen. I don't let it. Because I swore that day that I would never, ever take a life for granted, especially not my own. Apparently it didn't matter though, because a week later, one of the student study hall teachers mistreated me, and the response I gave back was not one they liked. So they were signing up for a pep rally, the first one that our school was actually going to have. And I wanted to sign up. And her response was, "You cannot go sign up at the pep rally until you finish this one sheet." A sheet that would have taken 30 minutes. By the time I finished the piece of paper, the sign-ups had ended. I was not allowed to compete at the pep rally. And I told her straight up, I would rather kill myself than write this piece of paper. I don't know. Everything in the past is becoming a blur at this point. Part of me is saying that it's two different memories, and I'm starting to think that might be true. Part of me is saying it's the same memory. I can't even tell. I've been hurt so much that all the past memories are starting to just blend together. That's why I'm sitting down here, recording this, ready to move on. Because I'm tired of all this. This negativity, this pain. Yeah, well, that teacher got me thrown in a suicidal treatment hospital when I didn't need it. That was fun. I deeply enjoyed being stuck in a bunch of medical gowns for an entire week, not getting replacements even after the torn apart my underwear showing. I deeply enjoyed everybody else getting sippy cups and stress balls, Play-Doh. I didn't get anything. That was nice. That was fun. I enjoyed having the other patients at the building try to kill me. Thanks for that. Oh, and I also deeply enjoyed the fact that they would come in at literally, 3 o'clock in the morning when I'm asleep, just to draw blood out of me. And they would draw so much that I would pass out. Thanks. What a nice memory. When I came back, not a single student, not a single teacher welcomed me back. That told me everything I need to know. Pecatonica didn't care about me at all. I would rather damn myself to hell than see the day that they get a satisfaction knowing that I'm gone, just because I took my own life. And the rumors, they just kept spreading and spreading, and people kept becoming more and more terrified of me. And that's when it finally started. One day I walked into class. I wasn't met with normal behavior. I was met with stares. If you study people's behavior, you can tell when something's changed. Something was different that day. One moment I was walking in, a lot of them were chatting, the next moment the room fell silent. There were such hateful stares going my way. I didn't understand it at the time. There was a small movement going on to get me thrown out of Pecatonica. The parents, the students, the teachers, the staff, everyone, even the elderly, they all wanted me gone. They were sharing a bunch of lies about me on a site called Pecatonica Unfiltered on Facebook. Every rumor, every lie accumulated. They didn't question anything. Anybody who spoke out against me and my family was regarded as a hero. Anybody who opposed was regarded as crazy, twisted, or insane. People would say things like, "Oh, I know that kid. Yeah, his family goes to this restaurant. I'm going to reach out to their mother." People would reply back, "OMG, you're so brave." They would contact my mother. "Do you know your son is this, and this? Do you know that he's planning to do that, and that?" My mother would respond, "I'm aware that the town has been spreading rumors and lies. Thank you for your time." But one just would come after another, and it didn't stop. It came like a storm, a hurricane, if you will. And it came in the name of Hurricane Katrina. No, not the actual storm. I'm making a reference to a person, the one that started all this. And I'm doing that without giving away her actual full name. That mother and her daughter. They didn't stop, you know. They kept making all these ridiculous accusations about me, and it never stopped. It never did. The people ate up her lies, they ate up her rumors, and they banded behind her and they tried to get rid of me. I was receiving word that they were starting to protest outside the high school grounds. People started accessing my school Gmail and sending me death threats. It was bad. Some of them were very specific. They said what they were going to do to me. They said how they were going to kill me. They said what vehicle they were going to drive. And they said how they were going to get away with murdering me. The Pecatonica grounds, the school system, they did nothing. Their only response was calling me into the office and making me believe I had a choice. But there was no choice. It was a forced option. I'm never going to forget it when that vice principal there at the time called me into the office. And he says, and I quote, "We can no longer guarantee your safety at Pecatonica High School campus." Didn't even try. Didn't even put in the effort. I was a student, damn it. I was a kid. I was a teenager. Didn't even try. If you know I'm innocent, why didn't you try? Why didn't you? Why? I've asked that this very day, and the answer is simple, because they didn't care. You don't sacrifice every good egg you have for one bad one. Sometimes that one bad egg turns into something extraordinary. You just can't see it. You're too dumb or too stupid or too naive to open up your eyes full of contact lenses. What's the matter? Your glasses not thick enough to allow you to see the truth? I was innocent. All right. I'll let time be the deciding factor. They wanted me gone. Either by force or by death, they wanted me gone. That was the reason why they had hateful stares. But I didn't know because I wasn't on their stupid site. I didn't care. I wasn't there to defend myself. Not only that, but they never even asked me for my side of the story. They never bothered asking me. Why would they ask the one everybody's afraid about? They did not care. They wanted me gone. And they certainly tried. A few of the students tried to get rid of me in their own way. It failed. I'm still here. I was still there then, I'm still here now. Why didn't I report it to the police? You know, that's a good question. I trusted the police once upon a time before. My father fell off a ladder. He completely dislocated his leg. This was one of the incidents I trusted them. I watched the police drive out to our neighbor's house, drive back into town, then drive back out to our house, and the police officer, the only officer who came out, gets out of his car. What does he do? He just stands there. I just watched him get the address wrong, drive back into town, about a mile out of a drive, and then drive all the way back out again, just to get out of his car and stand there, not even try to help the man. There was no ambulance, no stretcher, no paramedic, just the cop. A cop who couldn't do his damn job right. Okay, we can't blame all cops for one action. Can't I? They're the police. They're supposed to be trained to help and protect. Are they not? Or am I missing something? When a crime is in process, police are supposed to be first to respond. Are they not? When an incident happens, they're supposed to be first to respond. Are they not? Unless it's a fire, unless there's some pandemic going around, are they not the first ones to respond to the scene of a crime? A scene of an accident? At least that's what I was taught growing up as a kid. Well, a bunch of those people started littering on my dad's property and I got tired of it. You don't know how many cigarette butts and how many cans of alcohol, how many empty canisters of nicotine chewing dip or gum that they had around, how many soda bottles I had to pick up. I would have bags and bags full of their litter. I asked the police to do something, they would do nothing. A town of police that can't even do their job right should not even be able to have a job in the first place. I'm sorry, but they should not. Personal experience, the police that I had to grow up with were quacks. They were corrupt cops. If you would go 1 mile per hour above the speed limit, they would give you a speeding ticket. Why? Because they had nothing else to do. And when they did have something else to do, they would blunder it in their own possible way. They were not equipped properly. The town didn't even have a proper fire station. I'm sorry, it did not. To this day, I'm pretty sure it still does not. All it has is a big red firefighter vehicle that doubles as an ambulance. That's not going to be useful against a wildfire. No offense. If somebody stupid goes out there and does something dumb, town's pretty much done for. Oh, they can call for some from out of town. Oh, sure. But, they're supposed to come equipped, are they not? Yes or no? Answer is yes. Not even a question. They're supposed to be equipped to handle any type of situation. They are not equipped. They never were. And they certainly never helped me. Yes, I can't judge all cops based on the actions of a few. But when you grow up unable to trust the authorities, when you grow up unable to trust the system, who can you trust other than yourself? It's quite difficult to swallow, isn't it? It's painful. It sucks. It stinks. That's what happened to me. The police knew that I was innocent of every single possible rumor and or supposed crime that I was being accused of. They knew deep down everything was a bunch of hocus pocus nonsense and it was all untrue. But they couldn't do really anything. What are they going to do? Fight off their entire town? To protect one child? Sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? My options were given to me straight and simple inside that office. I could either stay there, risk dying at the hands of my own people, or I could transfer to a different school. It was a forced option, disguised as an option, because there was no option. My options were stay here and die, or transfer and survive. They just worded it that way to make it sound like an option, and that sickens me. I didn't have an option. You want to know what I wanted to pick? I wanted to stay. I wanted to be a part of my community that I was growing up in, but they wanted nothing to do with me. All right, fine. I transferred out. When I transferred, I went to a different school called Dolan. It was a school made out of a former prison. It was the school that they would send delinquents to. Students that would disobey, wouldn't follow orders. I wasn't there because I had to be sent there. I was there because I chose to be there. My options were stay and die or go and thrive somewhere else. They didn't want me there anymore. They did everything they possibly could to get rid of me. They beat me, they wailed on me, they lied about me, they hurt me. They did everything they possibly could to have a reason to get rid of me. I ended up having to go on a private bus to get shipped to Dolan. Shockingly, things actually got better after I started going there. The gym was horrible. It needed some reconstruction. Every single major door inside of that building was actually a solid steel door, other than the entry point, which was just glass. They had some other buildings around it that were being demolished. One was a church. Outside of it was a office building. And don't get me started on the students. They were something. Constantly rule breaking, not wanting to stay awake, not wanting to follow instructions or learn, follow orders. You ask them to put their head up, and they put it back down. You ask them to please read the context, and they want to do something else. They did not want to do anything, really, regarding schoolwork. They would want to just waste time, and it was fascinating. There were students there that would wear solid white, clean, expensive shoes to gym class, and then walk. And it was funny, because why are you going to wear that to gym in the first place if you don't want them to get dirty? And every time the teacher there would ask, can you guys just try to like jog at least a little? I don't want to get my shoes dirty, man. Leave me alone. Hilariously, inside that school system, I actually became one of their favorites. I was one of the only students they had that actually tried to follow rules, that actually tried to obey things. For them, it was a breath of fresh air. And I'm never going to forget their teachers. Their teachers were just phenomenal. I don't know if they're still great today. I know they replaced quite a few staff members here and there over the years. But when I was there, it was exactly the type of environment I wanted a school to have. Teachers that tried to teach you, people that actually cared about you, that treated you like you mattered. That's not what I had in Pecatonica. That's not what I grew up with. Did Peck have a few good teachers? Oh, they did. But personal opinion of experience, if I was put in charge of their school, I would probably fire about 60% of their staff. I'm sorry, but they had some really bad ones as well. Teachers that would smoke in front of students on bus trips, people that wore revealing clothes in art class, and people that would allow some of the worst things to happen inside the school grounds. I'm sorry, but I don't like listening to stories about men going inside girls' bathrooms and urinating on the walls. Yes, that was actually something that happened when I was at Pecatonica. And I certainly do not enjoy having to listen to students talk sexually inside of class. Yes, that also happened when I was there. And the teachers would do nothing. Absolutely nothing. Bothers me to this very day. But while I was in Dolan, I started gaining my reputation back, gaining my honor back. Wasn't easy, but I got there. I eventually even made a system that they called the VIP honor roll. And I pretty much maintained that almost the entire time I was actually there. I occasionally broke up a fight or two and mostly just kept to myself. I chose what fights to engage in, which ones not to. I mean, almost every student there was, in fact, just a jerk in their own way. And when they bullied me, I didn't even care. I already had a whole town bully me out. What are they going to do? Bully me out of this one too? Alright. What's the harm? I eventually graduated from Dolan, and I also graduated from Pecatonica simultaneously. So I was actually going to 2 high schools at the same time on paper, but only attending one in person. And it was because of them trying to send me out that I was still technically a part of their system. So thank you, Pecatonica. Thank you, Dolan of Education. Certificate of Completion. Aaron Decker is awarded the certificate for successfully completing the required work for high school at Dolan Education Center this 4th day of June 2019. So one's a certificate of completion, one's a diploma. This certifies that Aaron Decker has satisfactorily completed a course of study prescribed for graduation from this school and is therefore awarded this diploma. One for a certificate, one's a diploma. And I still have those pages that I was awarded to this very day. I was awarded one for best memory in geometry terms. An A+, 99% highest overall grade for high school PE at Dolan Education. Another one's a science award for highest average grade, a 90.82%. And this is the ones I was talking about, VIP awards. I still have all these pages. I even ended up getting a principal's award. Believe it or not, these are actually the first awards I ever actually got inside of a school campus. When I was at Pecatonica, I never received anything. I never got anything. The most I ever got was a mention for the most box tops donated, and also an award for taking my most time on an ISAT test. That was it. That was all they ever saw in me back then. Those are my first real awards I ever got. Not some dumb trophy that sits on a shelf all day long. What good is a trophy? It's just a shiny piece of metal, a hunk of junk. It's a trinket, an item, a meager possession. It means nothing. Now, getting a high grade, that means something, and that's all I ever really tried to do. I just wanted to fit in, but Pecatonica wanted nothing to do with me. Eventually, when I came back for graduation, I could see it in everybody's eyes. They were sorry. But not one of them had the balls or guts to walk up to me and say, Aaron, I'm so sorry for what we put you through. 2,224 people, and not one of them had the balls to apologize to me. 2,224 people, and not one of them could make things right. 2,224 people around the time of 2019, and not one of them could look me in the eye and just say the words I needed to hear. I'm sorry. We never should have put you through that. To this day, they have not asked me for forgiveness. I forgive them anyway. I don't care. They showed me exactly the type of people that they want to be. Traitors. Liars. Bullies. Backstabbers. Untrustable. Undependable. Unreliable people. That is what Pecatonicans are to me. When you look at me, you're not seeing the face of somebody who's angry. You're seeing the face of somebody who has suffered so much he just doesn't care anymore. And I haven't even told you the best part of all. They still affect me to this very day. When they attempted to get rid of me, and some of them tried to do it personally, I started having nightmares. Looking back, I haven't had a good sleep since 2017, when all of it really started picking up. It all happened just one night, one random night. You want to know what my biggest fear is? Some people are afraid of spiders. Good reason to be. They're natural predators. They're terrifying. Ever seen Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter? You ever seen the movie Sting? It's a terrifying concept. Giant spiders could easily overpower the human race. Scary topic. Some people are afraid of drowning. Another valid reason to be afraid. Some are afraid of snakes. Maybe they're afraid of a certain person. I'm afraid of a certain person, all right. I'm afraid of myself. I don't think you understand how angry I am for what they put me through. How much I want to go back and do unto them as they've done unto me. But I won't, because revenge isn't the answer. It solves nothing. They started all of it. What do you think's going to happen if I go back for revenge? I go back, I get revenge, I treat them the way they treated me, they come after me, I take on a few of them, beat them to a bloody pulp, they go to the police, they hunt me down. It doesn't stop. It ends with people in body bags. That's where it stops. That's what revenge gets you. It gets you more pain. It gets you suffering. Isn't that right, Lego? My cat's just chilling by a vent, enjoying himself. I thought about it for years. I wanted nothing more than to treat them the way they treated me. But I realized, after all the death threats, after all the lies, if I started getting revenge, I would never stop. It wouldn't just stop with my grade, it would stop after all of them are good and gone, or I'm dead. And that's precisely why to this very day, I take my anger, I put it in a bottle, and I make sure that lid is screwed on tight and welded shut. I'd never let it seep out, ever. If you think you've seen me angry, let me tell you something. You haven't. If you did, you'd be terrified out of your mind. I work very hard to control my anger. If I raise my voice, that is the extent of what I'm gonna let out. Because if I calm down. If I ever let it all out, you're gonna see something on the news you're not gonna like. That's precisely why I have worked so hard to control my rage and my anger towards all of them. All the lies they've told about me, every rumor they've said, every story, it's all untrue. Their pizza eating contest that they had, I never signed up for that. I was forced to attend against my will. I was dragged there by other students. I never signed up for it. I held that 3 years running, and on the 4th one, after everything they put me through, I couldn't swallow a bite anymore. They never said, "I'm sorry, man, you gave it a good run." They just said, "Get him out of here. We're done. We lost." They didn't care. I was just a piece to them. I was a pawn, a bargaining chip. They didn't give a damn if I lived or died. And they still don't, to this very day. Every last one of you Pecatonicans doesn't care. And I hope you watch this. I hope you hear this message, because this one's for all of you. I may have forgiven you all, but my memory, all I remember is pain. I will never be able to forget the name Pecatonica as long as I live. I've tried for years, and for years you've still haunted me. I'm never going to be able to forget what I had to go through. I'm never going to be able to forget the fact that you never apologized. And no, those 2 posters you sent, they did not make up for that. I needed to hear it physically, in person, from your own lips, your own voices. It didn't make up for it. It could never make up for what I'm still going through, and you don't even know what the hell I'm talking about, which makes this even more upsetting for me. You think bullying ends the moment you stop? We memorize it because we're young. It becomes a part of us. I still remember all your faces. I might not remember every single event that happened inside school, but I remember all the bullying and I remember all your names. I have photographically memorized each and every name of every student that attended, from senior to junior to sophomore to freshman, all around the time of 2019. So do yourself a favor. If you're from that town, unless your name is Chris or Joseph or Christina, stay out of my life. Stay the hell away from me. You've done enough. You've done more than you could ever imagine. You don't even know what I'm suffering from, that I will never be able to deal with. And there's no amount of therapy, there's no amount of medication that can fix what you've done to me. And I've had enough, and I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to find peace in my life. And it starts by all of you staying away from me. And it starts by me venting all this out here and just letting it go like a river over stone. I need this pain to go away so I can live peacefully. Because it still haunts me every single day. You want to know what I fear most? I fear becoming the true version of myself. The one that I don't let any of you see. The one that I do not let anybody take a glimpse at. Because it is horrifying. When I wear my custom suit of armor out in public, I always make sure that I don't have any weapons on it. No swords, no nunchucks, nothing. Nothing but me and my suit. Why? Let's just say I'm afraid what'll happen. Not to myself, but to anybody dumb enough to start something stupid. You'd have to be an idiot to fight a guy in a suit of armor. You'd have to be a bigger idiot to fight somebody in a suit of armor that's armed. And I don't want to take that risk. If I ever give in to the temptation of hate that's dwelling inside me, that person's not going to be able to walk afterwards. They're not going to be able to stand. Their mind is going to be so damaged that I will be the last thing that they see. And the only thing in their eyes they're going to take a glimpse at is me staring back at them through my eyes. Them seeing themselves in my eyes. Because there's no eyes to be seen. Just the actions that led to their demise. When I go to sleep, I don't sleep like I used to. Ever since 2017, since I've been bullied, I've been dealing with a horrible case of insomnia. It's awful. It all happened just one night. And I really don't want to share any of this. But it's time to rip it off like a band-aid and let it all go. I've never told my dad, never told my mom. I've never told anyone. No therapist. Not even my closest friends. When I was a kid and I would go to sleep, I would always have a dream. I could remember almost all of it. Some people look at the studies and they say, okay, well, you just dream occasionally, and occasionally you remember this and that. No. I remembered everything. every dream I had. But ever since 2017, it's been different. One night I went to sleep and eventually I had a dream. I was in my room, or at least I thought I was. Everything was so real. Everything down to the last detail was picture perfect. The two sides of my bunk bed side by side, my PC in the corner, the two windows, or three, depending on how you look at it. One was a double, one was a single. My door, my posters, my drawers, my dressers, my Legos all up on a shelf. Everything in my dream was exactly identical to how I had it in real life. Everything. And when I moved around, all the sounds were just so realistic. It was so vivid. I heard some ridiculous studies. I don't know if they're actually true or not, but probably just a bunch of nonsense. There was some study once upon a time that said that certain people can live out a lifetime in a different world when they're in a coma or when they're asleep. I thought it was so ridiculous at the time. Sometimes they live out a parallel life. Then they wake up and realize it was all just a dream. But everything down to the last detail was so real. Everything was right where it should have been. Everything. Every last thing that was in my room was there. In real life, in my dream. And the sounds all felt so real. And when I touched something, that felt real. And smell, well, smell didn't count because I can't smell. I was born unable to smell. Hygiene was always a bit of a struggle for me growing up. Eventually I got it down, but it wasn't till late high school that I actually did. Very late high school, actually. So I can't smell, which just made everything more realistic. All of a sudden, a man in a white t-shirt and shorts with a beard. He kicks my door open and pulls out a gun. Based on the design, it was a 6-shot revolver. He puts a bullet in my head, and the dream ends right there. I woke up in a cold sweat in the exact same room I just had a dream in. I was trying to piece it all together, piece by piece. I thought it was just a bad nightmare. I would like to end this here and say that's the end of it, but that would be a lie. It never ended there. It just gradually got worse. Every single night, the dream started again, and every single night, dreams got worse. I can't sleep anymore. I'm trying and I can't. I couldn't sleep last night. I couldn't sleep the day before. I'm amazed my brain's still intact at this point. I can't sleep at all. The first night, it was actually the easiest one to swallow. It was easy because the death was quick. All the dreams that followed were not quick. They've been excruciating and they have been painful. Sorry, I got up to blow my nose and wipe my eyes. I thought some paper towels would do me some good. My cat's still rubbing himself against the stadiums. I don't know why he enjoys doing that so much. I guess I should be happy they're getting some use. Anyways, as I was saying, the dreams just got worse from there. I truly believed that some of the Pecatonicans were going to show up on my property and try to take my life. I started sleeping with 5 baseball bats beside me every night when I went to bed. They were hands reach away from me when I slept. Not arms reach, hands reach. The moment somebody even made a shuffle or a sound, I was already going to have one in my hand. I was terrified. The dreams just kept getting worse. All the bullying, all the hate, all the death threats, all the lies, it made me crack. It killed me mentally. I eventually lost myself. That's why I don't like using the name Aaron anymore. It doesn't suit me. Aaron lost himself. All that's left now is Menace. It's a fitting name. But I'll get more onto that in a few. And the following nights, each dream was different. Each dream was worse than the last. The first dream, I was dead in a second. In the following dream, I was shot once in the chest, and then shot in the head. By the third night, it was 3 bullets. By the fourth night, it was 4. Each one took longer than the last, and each one was more realistic and more painful than the one before. I thought I could just push it away. I thought I could just keep going to bed and eventually it would stop, but it's been years and it hasn't. After about a week, when I'd go to sleep, I'd hear my mother scream, and then I would die. The week after that, it was my father trying to defend himself, and then my mother, and then me. After a month, my father, my mother, then my siblings screaming, and then I would die. And this happened again and again every single night. Each time the method was longer, each time the method was worse. Each time, I had a slower and more painful death than the one before. I was convinced that I was watching something unfold in a different timeline. To this day, I'm still convinced. I don't know what to believe anymore. After that, it was just horrible methods being drawn out one after another. I don't know if in a different timeline they'd actually happen, but in my dreams they did. And one I listened to my sibling being raped. In another, they were skinned alive. And I saw all this happen in vivid detail in my dreams when I slept. It sickened me. I couldn't stand listening to that. I couldn't stand seeing that when I slept. Normal dreams don't have things like that when you sleep. After about 6 months of that going on nonstop, it wasn't just one person anymore, it was multiple people. People that I knew, people that I grew up with, people whose faces I saw day in and day out. Oh, look at that. There was blood in that one. That's nice. That's fun. I listened to it so long. I just can't take it anymore. And yet at the same time, I've been putting up with it every day for so long. It's just gotten normal for me now. That's why I don't like sharing this kind of information. Because it's heavy. It's painful. And even now, I'm trying desperately not to say it in vivid detail because it would horrify you if you saw it the way I saw it. If you felt it the way that I had to feel it. Because I can't smell, everything felt more realistic, everything felt more real. It was just a dream, but every night it just kept getting worse. Even now it gets worse. This one I think it can't get any worse. It cranks it up a dial. Gets harder to handle. And I've dealt with it for so long. Revenge isn't what I want. What I want is peace. What I want is silence. My brain has been anything but silent since 2017. It's been a hyperactive mess. Just one memory after another, and one It's just one thing after another, just giving me headaches. It hurts quite a bit, I'm gonna be honest. But compared to dying out in a ditch being tortured to death, I'd rather have the headache. Anyway, it would just, like I said, it just kept getting worse. Eventually, I wasn't being shot to death anymore. Eventually, I was being stabbed and tortured and mutilated, skinned. You name it, it happened. I watched my organs get pulled out in one dream, my heart ripped out in another. In some, I was dragged outside and hanged while everybody just watched and shouted and cheered. Eventually, those weren't painful enough anymore. I guess because it found a new way to torture me. Somewhere around the year, I think 2020, or was it 2021? I don't know, somewhere around there. One night I went to sleep and the dream changed. I wasn't the one dying anymore. It was everybody else who was dying. I went to sleep and all I saw was me taking lives in my hands and ending them, snuffing them out just one by one. Some of them were people that I didn't even know. Maybe I met them once upon a time and I didn't know them personally. Some of them were my best friends. Some of them were trying to stop me, just trying to get me under control. And I wiped them out like they were nothing. My own friends. I would never do such a thing. Why would I ever hurt the people who wanted to be nice to me? Why would anybody do that? I look back at it all and I want it to stop. But that's the problem. I now know it's never gonna stop. There's no medical treatment, there's no therapy session, there's no medication powerful enough to make this go away. What good is therapy gonna do me in this case? Let me just bring that up here. Because I've been seeing a lot of people saying that, oh, if you got anger issues or if you got a problem, just go to therapy. What are they gonna tell me in this case? Everything I already know? There's nothing they can tell me that I don't know. I'm suffering. I'm in pain. It's not something you can just put a drug inside me and make it go away. It's not like arthritis that you can just take medication for or something else. It's not like when you feel sick and you could just take Tylenol or an Advil or Aleve. It's not like when you're sick and got a sore throat, you could just take a cough drop. This is something mentally going on in my brain, a physical war with myself that I've been dealing with ever since 2017, ever since my hometown betrayed me, ever since they accused me of all these heinous crimes that I never committed, that never even happened, that I would never do in my lifetime as long as I lived, that I never wanted to do as long as I lived. And they never apologized for it. They just kept going on like they're some superior being, that their life is just absolutely perfect and it doesn't even matter what they do to somebody else because they don't understand the consequences of their actions. How could they understand? How could they possibly know? Even though they're older, even though they're adults, they're absolutely just pathetic. They're senile idiots, is what they are. And a short term of swearing, they're jackasses. They're assholes. This is the most I've probably sworn in any of my videos. But I can't think of any other words to describe them. They are the worst people imaginable that you could ever see, that you could ever meet. Some of them are, don't get me wrong, they're beautiful. They look sexy as hell. Some of them are even model material. Some of them would make star quarterbacks if they spent enough time training. Some of them are highly intelligent. They would make excellent mathematicians if they actually put their mind to it and tried. But every single one of them, in my eyes, is a traitor. They're a liar. They are, in short, a failure. Because they failed me, one of their own people. They failed to treat another the way that they wanted to be treated or should have been treated. And for me, that is just heinous. Because this is what I've had to go through every single night. This is why I have insomnia. I can't sleep properly anymore. It's because of them. The Pecatonicans who put me in this hellhole in the first place. The ones who accused me of all these falsified crimes that I eventually had to prove were just stupid. That's all they were, just stupid. If they spent enough time doing their own research, digging for the truth, they would realize that every single rumor that was made about me was absolutely false. But they never took the time to research. They never took the time to talk to me or my parents. They would just falsely accuse me and not even try to hear the full story. And in my eyes, that is a sin. Bearing false testimony, false witness, that is a sin. Lying about one another, that is a sin. Now, I admit I wasn't the best child growing up. I did some things that I shouldn't have. I lied occasionally. There were even some things that I stole. That's another story that you know what, I'll just cover that story now. When I was a kid, I had a problem. I saw something I wanted and I'd take it. By the time I turned 17, I begged my parents for help to set me straight. And I didn't just stop stealing, I took it above and beyond that. I went to a measure most people don't go to. I physically sat here and tracked down almost every last place I could possibly remember from where I stole from. And not only did I return the stuff that I stole, but the stuff that I could not return, I paid for out of my own pocket, out of hard-earned money. I have one of those things right here beside me right now, actually. It's this right here. This was an item I stole once upon a time when I was at Cracker Barrel. A lot of people see this and they think, that's a knife. No. It's a comb. They wouldn't let me return it because I had already used it. So instead, I paid for it, and then I doubled the money to make up for lost interest by potential revenue. Every time I hold this, I use it as a reminder to never steal again. I've worked very hard to have the sense of honor and decency that I have today. I admit, I'm no angel. But if you were to pick any other ordinary citizen, or me, as a trustable companion in a moment that you need somebody dependable, I wouldn't go with every other everyday citizen. I'd go with me. But that's just my opinion. I worked very hard to return everything I stole back then. And that's why I'm not going to let anybody taint my honor to this day. When I called out that one person on YouTube, that one Beyblader, I didn't just call him out because he betrayed me. I called him out because he himself was a Pecatonican. He knew exactly what I went through in Pecatonica. And he chose to betray me. He chose to make all the exact same mistakes they did, accusing me of crimes that I did not commit, lying to me. That's why I called him out. Honestly, I hope he's doing well. But our friendship's dead in the water. I reached out once through him to try to mend things. He said no. Alright, that's that. I tried to mend things between me and his stepbrother. His stepbrother didn't want to talk to me. Alright, that's that. They've made their choices. They can say that I ruined their honor or I ruined their image. No, they ruined their own image. I was just exposing the truth, just like I'm doing right now with this video. The truth, how I got my name. You want to know how I got my name? It was all of this. All the bullying. All the lies. People treated me like a menace to society. In reality, I'm probably one of the closest things you have to a person who sees reality for what it is. It's painful. How do I know? Because I've lived through it personally. Those dreams every single night, giving me insomnia. People lying to me every single other day, thinking I don't notice when they do. The people accusing me of things I didn't do. Saying I stole when I did not. I can't tolerate that. I've worked hard to become the type of person that I'm proud to look at in the mirror. I like to think everybody else would go as far as enough to do the same. Anyway. In short, I'm depressed. Truthful answer is I want to leave this world, but I'm not suicidal. So I'm just writing it out as long as I can. This world is awful. It's horrible. People starve every single day. You got people dying every second. You have governments that don't care about you, who lie to you, who don't tell the truth, and waste your time. Corporations that don't care if you're injured. They don't care if you're sick. They expect you to work. They expect you to work yourself into the ground. What governments don't realize is we, the people, have the power. And the same thing goes with everybody else. If you go out looking for trouble, don't be surprised when you find it. Just make sure you don't piss off the wrong person. For example, I've had every single reason to seek revenge on Pecatonica. Every single reason since 2017. I would have become the villain. Not a villain, the villain. The villain of their own story, their own making. And no matter how much they tried to lie or cover it up, the truth is in the reports. It shows that I attended there. It shows that I was a part of their system, and I eventually left. And no matter how much they try to hide it, no matter how much they try to change it, that is an undeniable truth. It is a fact. I went to their school and a different school, and everything I've said in this video is the truth. It's painful, but it is true. Pecatonica, I will never be able to forget what you put me through. No matter how hard I try, I still remember the pain to this very day. And no matter how hard I try to have a good night's sleep, I only manage to sleep normally when A, I've completely exhausted myself to the point where I can't even stand upright, or B, B is where I finally just close my eyes and just force myself to be silent. Every time I go to sleep, I toss and turn, I roll. I can't even sleep anymore. I've been trying and trying, and I'm restless. I think the only reason my brain's staying intact at this point is because I'm actually keeping my eyes closed and forcing them to stay shut for hours on end. If it wasn't for these, then, well, I'm not sure I'd be able to sleep at all. I used to sleep so heavily that you couldn't even wake me in the morning. Now I sleep so lightly, if I hear so much as a light footstep, I'm awake. I'm up and at 'em. I don't have any cares left to give in this world. I don't have anything left to prove, really. They would always mock me and bully me. They thought I'd never be able to be as tall as them. Now I'm 6'1". They thought I wouldn't be strong. I made a suit of armor out of junk and spare parts that enhances every natural part of my being. It's even durable enough that I can stop sledgehammers. And the lenses are damp enough that I can stare directly at the sun, not go blind. Almost every single thing that the Pecatonic and staff thought I'd never achieve, I already have. I got good grades. I graduated. I became tough, strong in my own way. So I don't care what any Pecatonican thinks about me. I don't care what my former classmates say about me. I don't care what they do. They're scum. They've shown me that. They never apologize for what they put me through. Why should I trust them? I'm going out and I'm living my own life. Far away from them. And thanks to every Pecatonica and what they've put me through, I've basically become a living anime character. I mean, quite literally. I never built it to be terrifying. It only became terrifying because of how it looked. People look at it, they think it's a cosplay. They don't understand. It's a custom, homemade pseudo-armor out of junk and spare parts that can go the distance and keep going. And it fits me and only me. If anybody else were to try to put on my suit, it would be the equivalent of a real-life Springtrap from Five Nights at Freddy's. That's a horrifying image to imagine, but it's true. I made it to fit my measurements and only mine. If anybody else were to try to put on the whole suit, they would get stuck inside. They would be unable to take it off. You know, it's funny. It looks like junk, and yet I would not want this staring at me in the morning when I woke up. If anybody else were to try to put on my suit, it would just end badly for them. When you stare into my eyes, you don't see my eyes. All you see is your own reflection. If you look closely at them, you could see my two monitors looking back through. You saw it change when I closed the tab. You don't see my eyes, all you see is yourself. And that's part of the reason why my suit's terrifying. It's durable, it takes a beating. It looks like crap, it's made of crap, and yet it can take the punishment and keep going. I've had it tested against numerous things. If I wanted to, I could wear this to war. Instead, I use it to make people smile. I use it to make them laugh. That's all I ever wanted, was to see people smile. That's where my saying comes from. A smile a day goes a long way. It's true. How do I know this? Because I have spent my entire childhood, my entire school life, as far as I can remember, unhappy. I was miserable. Granted, I did things I shouldn't have, but I worked hard to change myself for the better. I took one look in the mirror. I saw the flaws staring back at me. Unloyal, unfaithful, liar, thief, cheater. I have put myself through the grindstone to make myself the type of person that I'm proud to look at in a mirror. I don't lie anymore. I don't steal anymore. If hell comes in high water, then damn it, I'm gonna be one of your most loyal comrades on the battlefield. I will pull you out of that mud, and I will keep going. I'm not gonna run away. If I have to, I'll run to higher ground, and then I'll keep fighting. I'll fight to my last breath, just like I have every single day of my life for as long as I've lived. And that's courtesy of Pecatonica, Illinois. So, congratulations, guys. You made a living anime character. But apologies if he doesn't sing your praises in song. And I think you all know deep down, you don't deserve it. As for me, unless war comes to my door, I'm gonna keep minding my own business. I'm gonna keep staying to myself. I'm gonna keep surrounding myself by the few things in this life that bring me joy, like these Beyblades, for example. Fascinating little things. They're so small and yet so compact, and each one tells a different story. Just like every suit of armor ever made. You could even go as far as to say each one of these has their own soul. Truly fascinating. It's marvelous, really. How they can be so unique, so similar, and yet, at the same time, so different. I don't know, I find it all intriguing. Anyways, I'm still working on the stuff on my channel. Apologies, I'm not done yet. I've touched up Benny and the Ink Machine, I've touched up my Minecraft playlist. I have started editing my Beyblade playlist. I'm still going through the videos, trying to decide where each one's going to go, how I'm going to split it up. I'm going to keep going through that. But as for the Pecatonicans who made me who I am, if you are watching this video, stay out of my life. Chris, you're welcome to bother me anytime you want. Joseph, you and your family are always welcome. And Chris, if you see this video, tell your dad I said hi. But for the rest, I could care less what you all do with your lives, just make sure I'm not a part of it. I trusted Pecatonica once. I trusted them with my life, my future, my pride. They took nearly everything away from me. I'll choose who I let into my life. I'll choose who I trust. But the majority of people who come from that town, I'm not ever going to be able to trust ever again for as long as I live. There's a select few people from there that I would actually trust with my life. Now, I could sit here and just brag about all the good stuff I did do for that town, like all the paper bags I donated to your middle school over the years, when you still had your textbooks and were making book covers. Where do you think all the paper bags came from? Didn't just fall off a truck, you know. When people were inspired to set up a frisbee golf course, who do you think it was who was on a rampage chucking a disc every single day till they set up a course? Now, somebody might have been interested at the time, but they didn't fully take interest until I went out to that course and started chucking a disc around. Whether you want to admit it or not, that's the truth. I got frustrated at work and I would go out to the playground every so often and I'd chuck a frisbee golf disc as hard as I could, as far as I could. Oh, and I hope your third street station is still serving ice cream after that debacle that happened a few years ago. Why do you think they were still serving it in the first place? It wasn't only because the owners decided that. I mean, they did. But who do you think reached out to them? Hmm? All I have to say in the end is, dear Pecatonica, I'm not one of you. I bear your name on my helmet, but I'm not one of you. I'm not one of you because you never made me one of you. You never showed me the kindness, you never shown me the love or respect that you should have. You turned me into a being that can't sleep every single night that I try to. You turned me into a being that constantly looks for the worst possible scenario because I see it every time I fall asleep. You turned me into a being that has more rage inside of it than an entire military base of angry veterans. An entire country could go to war willingly, and they still wouldn't have as much anger inside them as I do inside me. The only difference is I've learned to control my emotions. I've learned not to give in to temptation. I'm probably still going to have insomnia, even after all this, but this is the first step to me healing, is admitting that I have this problem. I forgive you, but I can never forget. Every time I think of the name Pecatonica, all I'm going to think of is pain. Because all you've ever shown me is pain. You want to know how I got the name Menace Snowdecker? How I came up with it? That's because that's the type of things they would call me. menace, demon, freak. They had all kinds of nicknames for me. Delinquent, traitor, outcast, abomination. No. The abomination was all of you mistreating an autistic kid. That was the real abomination. That was horrible. As for me, I found peace in my solitude. I keep to myself. I enjoy myself, and I keep things to myself. I share what I want when I want, and the rest of it I keep private. Believe it or not, every time I take a picture of my suit of armor, it's actually outdated. Because by the time I take a picture, I'm already adding something else onto it. That imagery I've shown is also heavily outdated. By about 3 years. I just keep showing it because it's one of my favorite pictures. Why wouldn't it be? It looks nice. It looks clean. I do that to keep people guessing. You take a look and think you know what it is as a whole, but you don't know anything. And why would you? You never took the time to get to know me. If anybody from Pecatonica ever tries to do business with me or tries to be on friendly terms with me, then they better be willing to work extra hard to make up for all the mistreatments and all the misgivings of their fellow people. I'm willing to talk to people. I'm willing to be nice. I'm willing to be friendly. But I will only tolerate so much disrespect. The moment I am lied to, I will realize it. The moment I'm mistreated, I'm going to take notice. I'll keep a list inside my head, and that list will continue to grow. And if you show me that you don't truly care about me, I'm going to walk out that front door, and you're never going to see me again. Respect is earned, not given. You have to earn respect. You have to earn trust. And as things currently are, I can't trust any of them. That's why I'm happy staying alone. Anyways, one night I got locked out of the house. It was -30 below. It was accidental. I thought it was a school day. I got the time wrong due to daylight savings and my phone going off much sooner than it should have. I got locked outside in school clothes and jacket, -30s. By the time I realized, I was already out there for about 30 minutes. Fortunately, my sibling had a bad habit of not locking their car. I froze inside of a car because I got locked out of the house. Fortunately, I had enough on me that I was able to stay warm. That night changed my perspectives a little bit about nature. It's not something you're made to control, it's a force to be reckoned with. Believe it or not, my suit has been trained for countless things. My hands are fire resistant, and the suit can handle negative 40-degree weather no problem. I know because I've tested it for years. And I've recently started putting a ventilation shaft inside the helmet, allowing me to breathe normally in hot weather without overheating. But that always stuck with me, the cold weather, its harsh treatment. Kept thinking about it. One day I came up with the name Menace. Menice, Menace Snowdecker. I changed my middle name, kept the first initial, changed it to Snow, but kept my last name honoring my family. One of the only groups of people that actually stuck with me through thick and thin. Thank you, Mom and Dad, for all you've done for me. To my sibling, thank you for putting up with my odd behavior throughout the years. And to all my friends, who are still my friends, I'm sorry I never told you the full story till now. If you are watching it here, I've shared bits and pieces of it with some of you, but I never told you the full story. And honestly, how could I? It's messed up. Even I can't process it sometimes. But I live with this every single day as punishment for what my town put me through. And I have to keep living with it for as long as I live, unfortunately. I'm always gonna be Menace Snowdecker, the betrayed Pecatonican soldier. In short, that is how I see myself. I think like a soldier, I'll fight like a soldier, and by God's will, I'm gonna die like a soldier. Probably someday in the future. Till then, I'm gonna keep enjoying my time that I got left with my cat, spending time with my friends, and I'm gonna keep trying to enjoy my days one at a time. My nights are still hell, but I'll manage. I only lose when I finally give in. I'm not gonna give in. You've thrown your best at me you've had to offer for years. You've failed every single time. And to anybody else out there in the world who's a bully or a criminal, pray that I don't run into you. I've already helped the police catch a few criminals in the past. I won't hesitate to do it again. You can bet on that. Anyway, I'm gonna go back to editing my channel. I got more playlists I gotta go through. And I'll be seeing you all later. So, have a great day, everybody. Thank you all for watching. I know this was a painful video. You know, I actually do feel a little bit better. It feels nice getting that off my chest after all this time. Maybe now I can start healing. hopefully when I come back, we can start having some happy gameplays. Anyway, I'll see you all June 1st. Take care of yourselves till then, alright? And don't forget to smile, because remember, a smile a day goes a long way. Hope to see you all back here again soon. Bye-bye.